Welcome to WatchNut TV and another edition of What's in the Box. Those of you who watched some of my previous editions might have noticed what a fan I am of JLC watches. As an older watchmaker, I think they've done just some really wonderful, innovative work in the past, and I've always been a fan of the reveiw, as I guess those of you who watched that review know. So today we're taking a look at another JLC watch, in this case the Master Compressor Chronograph. So a little bit more modern edition. So let's see what's in the box. The Master Compressors came along in the late 2000s and are named accordingly because of the mechanisms they use to control the water tightness of the crown and the pushers, in this case on a chronograph. But let me talk a little bit about the watch before I get into that. This is a reference Q175-8170, which is encased in a 41 millimeter by 13 millimeter thick case with a beautiful stainless steel bracelet. The first thing you notice about this watch is the dial. Has a very unique appeal, which kind of is a bit striking when you first take it out to look at it. It is a standard 3-register chronograph, so you have the typical second-hand counter, the minute counter, and then the hour counter, which goes up to 12 hours. In this case, you can see that I have stopped the mechanism at roughly 2 hours, some 45 minutes and 30 seconds, give or take. And in context, it looks pretty normal, I think. But if you reset the chronograph mechanism, which I'll do here, you see something really interesting when you first look at the watch, when you first take it out of the box, for instance. And that is that the numbers on the hour counter actually run counterclockwise. And yeah, it looks kind of strange when you start to see the countdown timer, but then you realize that the arrow that indicates the hour time is fixed, and that the dial actually rotates clockwise. So as the hours count up, the clockwise rotation brings the correct hour into view against the pointer. Really cool idea. Takes a minute to get used to, but once you do, it's kind of a nifty idea. And a nice design idea, I think. This watch uses JLC's caliber 751 chronograph movement, which is a 41 joule movement with the 65-hour power reserve. Runs at 28.h VPH and is comprised of roughly 270 some odd parts. So I'm kind of a JLC movement freak, and I've really liked this particular movement since they introduced it in 2006, if memory serves me correct. The Master Compressor name comes from the compression mechanisms they use to water seal the crown, and in this case the pushers on a chronograph. And you can see that the way I've got this set up, the red arrows indicate that the seals are uncompressed, or open, if you will. In order for the pushers to operate, they have to be open, much like a screw-down pusher in a traditional chronograph. But in order to obviously depth rate a watch, it's done so with all of the pushers in the crown in seated position. So if to return this case to water tightness, the seating discs turn a quarter turn in either direction, which in turn water seals them. And the crown guard rotates 180 degrees to its closed position, which seals the crown. Really nifty mechanism. I think it's a lot more interesting than the traditional screw-down crowns and pushers you see on virtually all watches. Case is beautifully made, highly polished, consistent with the design of their Master Compressor series. What you may not know about the bracelets on the JLC watches is they're all the links are put together with spring bars. And you can kind of see if you look at the side, each one of these links is independently removable in about 10 seconds with a standard push pin tool. And you can size the bracelet at will with really no tools much other than a pin pusher and a few seconds worth of patience to do it. JLC kind of went an extra step when they built this bracelet though, and the spring bars inside of the links are actually gauged and sized for the individual links. So the wider links at the connecting bars at the top have longer spring bar pins in them than the shorter standard sizing links. So they maintain a consistent depth throughout the entire run of the bracelet links. Also, for those of you who like Rolex's new Easy Link adjustment that's found on some of the new Rolex sport models, you might be interested to know that JLC invented that about 7 or 8 years ahead of Rolex. And what it does is it allows you to drop down the link connector and replace it and pick up 3 millimeters, give or take, worth of extra length in the bracelet, which is a nice, and does it on both sides, so you've basically got a 6 millimeter adjustment without having to use any tools or take anything apart. And it's for people like a lot of us whose wrists tend to enlarge a little bit during the day. It's a nice way to increase the length of the bracelet without having to mess around with a bunch of tools to do it with. So anyway, I am obviously a big fan of Joshua-Le-Cool, and this is one of my favorite chronographs. I hope you found the review interesting. I think it's just a gorgeous watch. I don't have it posted for sale yet, but it will ultimately be posted for sale on watchnut.com when I get a little bit extra time. Thank you.